Man, what a match, Chris. What a
What a
match.
match. What a
I
match.
mean, we didn't really get we let it marinate it overnight because it was late when because
Yeah.
this is how these
Yeah.
fucking pay-per-views work. Tony can't give us a fucking break. We didn't get really enough time to talk about it. And as I've let it sit and just think, it's like, what did we watch? What did we watch? And was it better than the first? There's arguments that it wasn't. I see it. I get it. Let's talk. What was your takeaway from Osprey Omega v Osprey 2? And spoiler alert, Osprey won. Is there going to be a third match? Probably.
They have to. Yeah, it was amazing. It was, I mean, I said it on another episode that I think Kenny Omega is the greatest wrestler of all time.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, this is like one of the best matches you'll ever see. I think if you're a wrestling fan, this is it. This is like how we talked about how the Bloodline is like the
Yeah.
greatest wrestling storyline of all time.
Hmm.
This is I mean, I'm sure everybody has like their top however many, top 10 matches ever.
Hmm.
But I feel like if you're a wrestling fan, this should probably be in your top 5 or 10. I mean, this
Wow.
this is an incredible
Yeah.
match. And I think it's gonna be interesting because like if they do a third one,
Hmm.
because the second one pulled certain continuity from the first match,
Right.
it'll be
Right.
cool to see how they like wrap up what hopefully is a trilogy.
Hmm.
But I think one of my appreciation for these two matches now, but especially this one, grew because I've seen before, like I guess the my big one that I always come back to is Gargano and Champa, and there being injuries and like kind of throwing their rivalry off track.
Hmm.
But because of the nature of wrestling, you never really know if you're gonna get to finish whatever the original plan is for
Right.
however long they might plan out some of these feuds. And so sometimes you'll see a match and you'll be like, yeah, I feel like they kind of, they left a little bit in the tank because they're probably going to do another one.
Hmm.
But the beauty of this match is like they really didn't leave anything in the tank. Like this was they left it all out there. Like if we get a third one, awesome. That would be great.
Right.
But at the same time, like I didn't end it like after the first match, I had the feeling of like, oh, they left they could have cranked it into like a third gear, but they're saving it. And then after this one, I was like, yeah, that's all of it. That's one of the best matches I've ever seen. Uh, it was amazing. If you're, I mean, as a wrestling fan, I feel so spoiled. I felt
Hmm.
so lucky to live in the timeline, to like be alive at the time
Yeah.
when Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay were having their series of matches. It was amazing.
Yeah.
You were have had the blessing of getting to see Will Ospreay live in person.
I know.
What was your reaction to this match?
So my first reaction was like, okay, it was okay match. At some points, it was like kind of boring because I knew what these guys are capable of, and I'm like, okay, they're just gonna do like 30 minutes of good wrestling, safe wrestling. Because I mean, they don't have to put their bodies on the line. They don't have
They
to
don't
go.
have to.
They
They
don't.
really don't.
They don't, and they don't have to go that hard. This is this isn't even like a big pay-per-view for like it's. I'm not trying to like shit on it in any way. It's just like last year's was great and it was the first time they ever did it, but it's not like an original pay-per-view that they created when the company first started. It's not like all out, all in style. It's not
Yeah.
double or nothing. It's not like one of their big pay-per-views, but now
It's
it
more of
is.
like an exhibition, I think, when it was
Yeah.
first like pitched as like,
Yeah,
oh, it's gonna be like a
exactly,
crossover.
exactly. Yeah, besides like some repercussions, which was that which you kind of didn't think he was gonna win, but Takahashi versus Moxley for the interim AEW championship. I mean, there was also a chance that he could have won, but
Yeah.
um, you know,
Yeah.
but like you're right. That's a good way of phrasing it. It's like it was like an exhibition match, and like same style here is like you guys don't need to go that hard, especially for a title that's not for a that doesn't belong to AEW. and you could argue should be defended in only New Japan. But they said no, this is a cross promotion. We're gonna go all in, pun
Yeah.
intended, I guess, and they let their wrestlers do their job from each respectively on each side. It's crazy, and if it wasn't for the history, I think Omega wouldn't be getting this. Omega wouldn't be allowed to be hurting Will and beating Will like he did the first time if it wasn't for the history.
Yeah.
Had he not like worked in New Japan for who knows how long and getting it into the eyes of all us gringos over here. Um, so like it's just like it was incredible to see them take it up a notch and proving me like, oh shit, I was way wrong. This is better. In my honest opinion, this was better than the first.
Yeah, I agree. I
Let's quickly
agree.
address the controversy, which was the Don Callis stuff. Yes, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
it's
Um,
dumb. It's very
don't
dumb.
if you're gonna, it's like kind of like what's the saying? If don't book uh don't book the match if you're not gonna do the finish or something. I forget the saying. You always used to say it, and it was a big saying, especially during the pretty bad years of after good SmackDown and good Raw were. Uh,
Yeah.
a couple years ago, they were just booking really bad matches and well, bad finishes. Like prime example was the Fiend and Seth Rollins, a DQ match in a fucking Hell in a Cell. What does that? What? So like,
Yeah.
this is not the equivalent of that by any means, but you could have tweaked it. He should have been thrown out right towards the end. And when he's being thrown out, arguing with the ref, he tosses like the screwdriver behind him.
Yeah.
And then, ta-da, there you go. But like he made like I think it was a Pete from Wrestle Talk, his live reaction was saying, "Yo, this ref is looking like a complete buffoon," and in a way, that's true. Like I get refs, like yeah, they're never going to look great or good, and sometimes they're going to look stupid. But there is a certain level you have to hold them to. Yes, like oh yes, they're fragile as glass, but that's a story as old as time.
Yeah, that's
That's
a bit. That's like
it's
that's part of the wrestling
yeah,
magic. The ref
exactly,
takes you breathe on him and he's knocked out for 20
exactly,
minutes.
exactly. Um, but also so is their word. That is taking like a DQ. They say what like the 3 count.
Right,
Um,
right.
unless like it's a GM coming out and overturning it, that's something that in just like in wrestling, I guess lore and wrestling just rules. The referee's word is the solid, and you have to respect that authority because if it's not a DQ match, you get yourself DQ. That's it, and he should have been disqualified in a way, you
Yeah.
know, and especially if it's like, and this is the other thing I guess people are kind of overlooking. I didn't hear that, especially the Wrestle Talk boys didn't talk about this. This was a New Japan belt, and there wasn't a New Japan ref.
Very
We were seeing
weird.
very
Very
weird,
weird.
and we didn't know it. We might have missed it. Um, maybe they said it, maybe not. I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, they didn't even say this was under New Japan rules because AEW rules are pretty much the
Yeah.
same because they do 20 counts instead of 10 counts. Um, and AEW and New Japan. So, but apparently, I didn't know this. Titles can change hand via DQ in New
Yeah.
Japan. So like they
Never knew
didn't even
that.
like so like Don Callis touching Will Ospreay is a
He
DQ.
tried to trip Kenny Omega.
That's a DQ.
I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want to take this a step farther. I don't think Don Callis should have been part of the match at all. I have no idea
Wow.
why he was out there
Sure.
because, and more so
I guess
because
story.
the screwdriver wasn't the finish.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, like, it left me even more like it's already done. We saw this at WrestleMania. Solo Sokoa got ejected and then came
Mm-hmm.
back in and ruined the end of the match.
Mm-hmm.
And Don Callis gets ejected and then just comes back, which I guess is fine.
Yeah.
But the screwdriver, I could almost justify it if
Yeah.
that was the finish. But because it wasn't the finish, not only did it make me feel like, why is Don Callis even part of this match? He's an
Mm-hmm.
AEW, like it's an AEW like storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? Since when does he care about Will Ospreay? Like, where did this even come from?
All
But
right.
it was more that like the first match that these two had in Japan, it was like Kenny was just better. Like he was
Right.
just better at everything than Will because he's the OG Mr. New Japan. Like He just when he's in Japan, Kenny is like goes up, his overall goes up to like 100.
Hmm.
Just like
Yeah,
he just
yeah,
levels up.
yeah.
And he won that match because he was just better than Will Ospreay on that day. They were very close, but he was just better. And
Mm,
this match I felt was the same thing. It's like they were really evenly matched. That's part of what made the Danielson Okada match so good. It's part of what made this match so good.
mm,
They're so evenly matched that I didn't think there's a difference between like a heel and like the chicken shit, like cheating heel uses a weapon
yeah,
behind
yeah,
somebody's
yeah,
back. Like I didn't think Will Ospreay, I didn't think he needed to,
yeah.
be getting tossed a weapon and like, especially because it wasn't the finish. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, so he doesn't need the weapon to win, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
And he hit him with two finishers anyway. I was like,
Yeah, I get it. So like with
yeah,
that, you can, and there's obviously the argument, and I'm on that side of the argument where it's like at least it led to something like that made you somebody out there makes their heart skip a beat. And
yeah,
for us, it was just it made us pop. Like, oh, it's
yeah,
not the finish. And which is
dude.
and you know what? I'm always okay with that because that happens. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
saw Johnny Gargano and Cole, and like that's it. It's over.
I got
That's it.
baited like 6 times in the last
Exactly.
5 minutes of that match.
Exactly. So like
Yeah, I do
so
want
it
to
creates good
say,
moments. It creates good moments.
the Don Callis stuff, although it is very stupid, it did
Hmm.
not affect my enjoyment of the match at all. It was more just like oh, that's a kind of a dumb thing they're doing. But I'm used to wrestling doing dumb stuff. Like we
Yeah.
watch a lot of wrestling. Wrestling can be dumb sometimes.
Hmm.
The in ring action was immaculate. And
Right.
I feel like we should take a moment to address some of the incredible spots in this match because it was like 39 minutes. There were some moments. I mean, I think the most iconic one, at least to me, is Kenny kicking out of the one winged angel at one.
That
That
bothered some people, but
what?
yeah.
What? No, casuals. Casuals. That's his finisher. Nobody kicks out of it except for him, damn it.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, this happened so early on in the match that I forgot until they like I was going back watching highlights. But the DDT onto the like side, the steel steps were on their side,
Hmm.
and Kenny picks up Will
Yep.
and DDTs him on the side of the steps. I was like, oh my god, Will taking Kenny's head and just smashing it into the announce table
Yeah.
over and over.
Like I don't know if Will knew like these aren't New Japan tables, man. His head isn't gonna go through that. Stop it. He's already dead. Or
Oh
almost dead.
man, yeah. Like they're just man. I almost feel spoiled
Hmm.
that these two exist in the same timeline.
Yeah.
It feels like we're getting an alternate timeline version of Kenny Omega that has graced us by falling into our timeline and they're wrestling each other and it's like
Hmm.
not screwing up the continuity of the universe. Like I just, sometimes as a wrestling fan, so I don't know how else to describe this other than this feels like if I was young enough to appreciate Michael Jordan playing basketball.
Right.
Like I just see Kenny Omega have these matches and I'm just left astounded that he's not dead by now because of some of the fucking bumps that he takes like the one where the tiger driver where Will drops him on his neck.
Oh, that one
But
hurt.
man, yeah, it's great. I was watching the media post coverage when I got
Hmm.
home
Hmm.
and Will was pretty much out of character doing the doing like the post game press
Hmm.
conference,
Yeah.
and you could just hear how much he like loves and respects Kenny Omega,
Yeah.
but also just how much he loves
Wrestling.
wrestling and
Yeah.
like doing these matches for the fans, but also because he's like dreamt of doing like wrestling some of
Yeah.
these guys.
Hmm.
And it just, man, it made me so appreciative of like
Hmm.
how many times, man, as kids and adults now, do we like throw out these random dream matches
Yeah.
and we're like, oh man, don't tease me, this will never happen.
Mm.
Like we're getting it right now. Like Forbidden Door is giving us these dream matches that I mean, Danielson Okada, talk about a match that I literally thought I would never see in my life.
Yeah, because he was stuck in WWE or retired and never gonna come
Yeah.
back. And then when he did, like, nah, no way he's leaving. He's gotta stay with WWE.
No.
Nope. Because he made it happen. He wanted it, and he was gonna get it. Like
Yeah.
it was I guess it became more of a reality once he left WWE. But the fact that we saw it last time, we actually saw, and he won.
He
He
won.
fucking
He beat
won.
the Golden Boy.
Like I get it. It was like abrupt and like there's definitely the argument like it was missing that third year and it was getting right there and it ends.
Yeah.
And but for me that's okay because fucking Bryan Danielson beat Okada.
Tapped him out. He
Tapped
just
him
beat him.
out.
Made him
He
tap
didn't pin
out.
him. Dude, it was insane. Like, yeah, that's the other thing. Like the technical wrestler
Man,
made
oh
the
man.
other technical wrestler tap. It was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, from a technical wrestling standpoint,
Yeah,
those are like two of the greatest of all
yeah.
time. Like they're on the short list. They're in the top 10. Uh I mean, I think that match probably does go an extra 5 minutes if Danielson's fucking arm isn't broken.
I say 10, 10 or 15, I feel like.
Yeah, because I know that they get kicked off, but I was thinking like, I don't know, maybe Tony would pay for an extra 5 minutes. He paid for that final countdown song, which he said was like
Yeah.
$100,000 or something.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that Okada Danielson match, and like it's kind of funny because a match like that sort of following Omega and Ospreay, those are two very different types of matches,
Hmm.
and so like it's almost testing the wrestling fan of like not like it's fine like everybody has certain types of matches that they do and don't like,
Yeah, yeah.
but like to be able to appreciate both of those matches when they're so different.
Hmm.
Like I love Bryan Danielson. He's not gonna be like hitting V triggers and dive and doing like moonsault flips over the top rope and doing like 15 twists in the air like Will Ospreay does and then like hits a like he's just not his kind of wrestling. That's not his
Yeah.
style. So like I could see some people going into that match and be like, ah, this one's kind of boring. Like I'm just sitting there, like we're sitting in the movie theater watching it on the big screen. And I'm just sitting there next to you, and I'm like, man, I just want them to go for like 2 hours. I could just watch them just like trade submission moves. And Bryan Danielson wrestling is just a treat to watch.
Yeah.
He doesn't mess up. He's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to watch highlights after this. I just need to watch again.
Yeah. And just from like an actual wrestling standpoint,
Hmm.
like not even sports entertainer, like an actual wrestling standpoint. Bryan Danielson is, man, he's just on another level. He just exists in like his own little universe. I think I'm always impressed by the fact that he really does not make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the broken forearm was like
Sucks.
he said that that was on him for not having his arm in the right spot
Hmm.
to take that elbow from the top from Okada, but
Yeah.
um, that we didn't even know. I thought he was just
Yeah.
selling.
Yeah.
He was just selling us.
And the fact that he was able to beat him with a broken forearm is even more impressive. Like
And
if
God,
we're
yeah.
just
And
we're
to
marking
just
out.
like not he because he's so good. The guy has an actual broken forearm.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh man, what a hell of a sell job by
Hmm.
Danielson here. Like he's really, I mean, he's only doing like one arm submissions. He's like
Hmm.
changing his label lock because he can't. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, this guy's really selling the arm. Like, and I think he even said like, yeah, I just didn't want to stop the match, so I just kept going. I'm like, if I had a broken forearm, I think I would be unconscious in pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, uh, we're spoiled, man. I
We
like
are.
watching those matches. I was just like, what are we doing? We should be paying. 10 times as much money. Like this is
Mhm.
insane. That
Yeah.
yeah,
But another big thing that I think I personally want to just leave out there is that we saw this in the movie theater, which is a great idea. They should do that more.
dude.
AMC, if you're out there,
Yeah.
you lied to us. You put it on the
Yeah.
AMC app. What the hell, sponsor
What's
us?
that about?
Uh, um, so like we to watch Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay on a giant movie screen with barely anyone there besides actual wrestling fans, which
Yeah.
it was great. And watching Okada versus Brian Dance, like the last 15 years of wrestling, amazing, great, fantastic, just fan service wrestling from one side of the world and the other side of the world in the same ring. Ugh,
Yeah. It's gonna be hard to not watch all future pay-per-views in that format.
yeah,
Like that
yeah,
really, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, this is spoiling me. Like I'm ruined. I'm ruined now. Next time I have to watch a show on a TV, I'm gonna be so sad.
yeah,
This was, yeah. I mean, and that was we were just trying it out. We didn't know if it was gonna be like, good quality sound or how it was gonna
yeah,
work. But Regal knocked it out of the park, man. I mean,
yeah.
it was pretty much perfect.
May have to
And
go
to
back.
boy, to experience those matches on a fucking movie screen, like
Hmm.
what? That was so cool. It made me so appreciative of Tony Khan, like
Yeah,
because part of the
biggest wrestling
reason we
fan.
got those matches that Tony's like out there fighting for those because he wants to see them.
Yeah,
Like he's just the same as us, where he's just like picking names and he's like, oh man, I would love to see this guy fight this guy.
yeah,
And he just calls up
yeah.
New Japan. He's like, hey, what do you think about Okada? Um, I also wanted to say I kind of have to give New Japan credit for this because even though I don't follow them very closely, they seem to have a very consistent Golden Boy rule
Hmm.
where it's like one at a time. It's like they pick their guy
Yep.
and it's like Okada or it's Ospreay or it's Omega, and right now it seems like it's Sonata. And if they like him enough, then they'll just never let him lose ever to
Hmm.
anybody.
Hmm.
But if you're not that person, you're up for grabs. Like you can
Yeah.
lose, you can get tapped out, you can get pinned. Like you can have your title taken away, like Will Ospreay did in Japan. I
Yeah.
mean, granted, that was Kenny Omega, and I think they still have a pretty big heart on for Kenny Omega in New
Right.
Japan. But still, like I think if you're not the Golden Boy, New Japan seemingly, especially it shows in their own country or in America,
Hmm.
they're okay having their guys lose, which we for a long time have said like, well, WWE would their ego's way too fucking big to ever let any of their guys get pinned by someone from another company, so they would never agree to
Yeah.
do the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really cool that New Japan is like, look, don't pin our champion, but anyone else, you do whatever you want. Like we
Right.
don't care, which is great because it helps the. I mean, there's still like kind of shitty politics about some of the stuff that goes on with Forbidden Door and certain people not being allowed to appear, but
Hmm.
for the most part, it helps that they're not big like giant assholes about somebody losing a wrestling match,
Hmm.
which is great because as fans, it's like we don't have to sit here and go, oh, Danielson Okada double count out because neither company's going to want their guy to lose. It's like no, the other, New Japan's guy lost pretty definitively, and it was awesome.
Yeah. It was fantastic, and I really, really, I'll be looking forward to it every year now. Like it's something that needs to
Yeah.
happen every year. I hope they stick with it. I hope the working relationship is forever. Because this is a big risk. Like if they ever fall out with each other, that pay-per-view's cooked. It's done. My
Oof.
opinion.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Um, anything we missed, you think, or want to add? Um, I
I
just
really I'm excited for the future of this pay-per-view. I
Mhm.
would love to see more people allowed to appear on it
Mhm.
because there are just a lot of dream. I think it's also good like that an exhibition style pay-per-view like this exists. Like a pay-per-view that can be used to like further certain stories, but these are also stories that are like
Mm-hmm.
these guys are not going to face each other again for like 3 to 6 months in a lot of cases if it is a storyline. So it's not like direct storylines like MJF and who is it? Tanahashi
Mm-hmm.
are not going to face each other like probably ever again, honestly.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't really matter who wins or loses. I mean, that was for the AEW titles. Obviously, MJF has to win, but it doesn't actually like affect much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would I would like to see maybe them figure something out with AAA and CMLL so that more people can be on the show. Because I remember last year that was like a big issue.
Yeah, like
Um,
New Japan has a working relationship with CMLL, so they wouldn't let their guys job out, quote unquote, to
yeah,
AAA
quote
guys, or
quote
they
unquote.
won't even let them face them.
Yeah, that was the really frustrating thing. And it seemed like a lot of people didn't like behind the scenes didn't know that. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Andrade can't be on the show,
Mm-hmm.
which was a bummer to me because, but there's so many dream matches left. I mean, guys that weren't even
Mm-hmm.
on this card, specifically Malachi Black, Adam Cole, who was going to be on it, but then like, was taken off.
Yeah.
But there's like so many more dream matches we could see, and it's just awesome that this exists because it makes it all possible because you have an exhibition pay-per-view. You don't need storylines. And like some of the matches work well because they do have storylines,
Mm-hmm.
but then you can also just put Danielson and Okada, and it's like there is not really a storyline there. But I don't give a shit because
Mm-hmm.
I've also wanted to see that match like since I learned who Okada was. And Daniel Bryan came out of retirement. I was like, well,
Yeah,
be nice if we got it someday. And we actually got it.
we got it for
Man,
sure. We got that. We got a lot, and we
yeah,
like you said at the beginning, we're very spoiled, and man, just God bless, God bless.
yeah. Thank you, Tony,
Thank you.
for blessing us with these matches. It
I
was a good
know.
show overall, but let's be real. He could have just booked those two matches and like 8 jobber matches, and I would
Hmm.
have been totally happy. Like I got everything I wanted. Those matches were as good as I ever could have hoped for, which is not easy because the hype was so high. The fact that those matches, at least in my opinion, lived up to what I was hoping for. That was pretty awesome. Rewatching the matches in the background.
I'm trying to find it because I wanted to point something out, but that's okay. I'm very spoiled, and it is getting late,
Yeah,
so I shouldn't stay up watching that because I got back home pretty late last night. But it was all worth it because Tony blessed us.
it did.
Let's hope they keep it up. There is one looming darkness over cloud, in my opinion, still over AEW, but that could be fixed with a few matches, and that has since happened already. So let's leave it on a positive thing. Brian Danielson wins, was fantastic, and Ospreay versus Omega, the right guy won, even though maybe we wanted Omega to win, especially after kicking out at one and
Oh
just
my
going
god.
try he just like he held on just a bit. Just a bit. Both of their bodies were in red. Like in 2K where your body's just fully red and just like it's not even red, it's dark red.
Yeah,
It's dark red.
where you're gonna be like injured for the next match that you
Yeah.
you put on universe mode.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was dark red. It was past any shade of red. And
god.
Kenny did his damnest to win, but Will just had just a bit enough, I guess, not dark red to get the one,
Yeah.
two, three.
I
It
will
was,
say really quickly,
yeah, yeah.
because I am spoiled and I
Oh
want to
boy.
ask for it all.
Oh God.
I would I would take these two matches
Uh-huh.
just because I'm greedy,
Uh-huh.
flip the matchups,
Uh-huh.
give me Osprey versus Danielson,
Mm.
and give me Okada Omega one last time.
One
Because
last
Kenny
time.
doesn't have many of these matches left, man. He doesn't have many left. We all know
Wow.
it. But
Yeah.
oh, just one more time.
Oh yeah, because I
One
think
more time.
they're one at peace because they think they have a draw.
I think so, right?
Yeah, they're one.
They each have
Oh,
one, and then there was like the 60-minute draw.
yeah. You might have
Just
hit
one more
something. You might
time,
have.
man. Just
You
one
might be
more
onto something
time.
there. You
Take the
just
two
might.
winners, take the two winners and the two losers, pair them up, money. Osprey
Nah.
versus Danielson. Are you kidding me? Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
Ospreay should be in the G1, especially after this. They should. New Japan should reward him after that fucking match
Yeah, I think,
and
yeah,
win. He should win. That's my guy to win the
yeah.
G1. I'm calling it now. If it was, and if Danielson was healthy, I don't know what the chances were that he wanted. Excuse me. I know he wanted to do the G1. I just
Yeah.
don't know if they would have let him. It
Mm,
was. I would say 50-50. I wouldn't say it was never going to be zero
no.
chance, but only if he was healthy. And unfortunately, he didn't come out the match healthy, which is okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But as long as he gets healthy and he stays healthy, hopefully, let's hope for the wrestling gods. We'll get one more, maybe two more Okada matches out of him.
Oh my
One more
God.
for sure. One more for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, keep praying to the wrestling gods and just think positive thoughts because wrestling is back. It's back, baby. The summer of good wrestling's back. I'm
Oh
not gonna
man.
say the summer of anything else other than the summer of good fucking wrestling, and we'll leave it at that. Good night. Thank you so much for listening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, days and dems. Happy Pride Month, happy wrestling month, happy wrestling summer. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.